life situations also might teach me how to be flexible here. When I went deeper, so I've come to the conclusion that no, there's nothing to do with religion. Anybody can be a Christian or an atheist. They can practice yoga.
I've been thinking about inviting you for a while now. As you know, I've known you for quite a while. My husband is an avid student of yours, and you've started kindly teaching us yoga at the firm as well, which we really appreciate. You know, our Friday mornings is always a very peaceful time, although it's not as restful as one would think, but in a as you always say it, in a very energizing way. So I guess my first question to you is, how did yoga come into your life?
Well, actually, it was that search for, that feeling of being fulfillment. You look for many things when you're young, sports, games, but there was something always missing. I found that through yoga, like the way to be fulfilled. At that point, I realized that, this might be the way to this feeling of fulfillment. So this is where my quest started, like in yoga.
I presume that it would be quite right to say that it's kind of a lifelong learning, isn't it? It's not
Yes.
something that I think in our modern world, you have all types of different types of teaching yoga that have emerged. Most people tend to focus on the asanas, on the physical part, but actually yoga is so much more than that. What is it about yoga in particular that fulfills you?
So it's particularly about yoga, if you see, it's that inner aspect. Many people, when you say yoga, they just think of postures, asanas, or I'm flexible.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
But they don't address that inner part. So this is I won't say the main part, but what's on one big part. It has to be the mind, the body, and the spirit, these three aspects working together. Then the feeling of fulfillment happens. So yoga is mainly about, feeling, being in the now, in the present moment. You see many people doing yoga nowadays with like earphones and
listening to something else.
but
yes.
it's the purpose of yoga is to be present within you, like witnessing the poise, the posture. So
let's sort of break it down, because you have as you said, you have the asanas, and then you also have the breathing techniques, the different breathing techniques that you have to practice as well. So if we start with the asanas first, when you're building up your different poses, as you said, it's not just about flexibility, but about being present. Is each asana intentional in it's not me just doing a physical pose for the sake of it? Is each one bringing a benefit to my mind, body, and spirit?
actually, traditionally, yoga was not taught like you were not going in a cross. It was like, this is what we call Ashtanga yoga, the 8 steps of yoga. So before, as I said, traditionally, before you would start like to learn yoga, you would have to learn some social discipline.
Right.
This is what we call yamas in the yoga jargon, like social discipline, like I won't steal, things like that. There's 5 of them. And then there is the niyamas, which are personal discipline, like cleanliness, things like that. Then after mastering, well, you won't master it just at once, but you started to lay those foundations. Then you start to practice the asanas, which is like working on the body, flexibility and strength, the core and all that. And then you move on to the breathing, the pranayamas. You see, those steps are very like different echelons that you move forward. Then it's pranayam, then it's pratyahara, that the withdrawal, the detachment. Then is focus, concentration. Then is meditation. Then is like that sort of self-realization.
Yeah.
So it's a lifetime work. You won't learn it in 1 year in a school, but it's life also will teach you. Like it's good my body is flexible, but then the life situations also might teach me how to be flexible here. So this is where what I have to apply. Like the yoga should, my meditation should like travel with me.
Sure.
All these principles should, accompany me throughout the life.
So it's interesting that you said like there are different stages, as it were. I studied, when I was living in London, I studied the Iyengar method. And I remember the teachers won't let you join the pranayama classes until and unless you had reached a certain stage of the asana classes. And I was reading a book, I think a month ago, that Iyengar wrote, and he sort of explained that if you have an unstable body, if you're unstable in your body, it will be very difficult for you to have a stable mind and therefore to be able to do what it takes to do pranayama. It could actually quite be dangerous for you if you're doing it in the wrong way. So I completely agree with you. It's different stages. But for the beginner, for the novice who's sort of never done yoga before, has done it at a gym, at a kind of recreational level, but who's interested in finding out more about the philosophy of it, what advice would you give to them? How would they start it? Because a lot of people say, I'm not flexible.
Yeah, I would say, oh, you're not flexible. This is why you should join a yoga class. And many people have got many apprehensions also about yoga. Oh, I can't sit on the floor. Or is it a sect? Is it a religion? Is it, some kind of spooky thing? My advice to them is, you can be in the gym, but if you are present, this is about yoga. I can be, drinking something. If I'm present here, where my mind, I'm totally present. So this is the main thing of yoga. When you start to practice that, you'll feel like a sort of relief in the mind. And this is the démarche of yoga, that feeling good. So just try, small things. Like you can start a very simple workout, but the difference would be, am I conscious? Like small, I can do this. Anybody can do this, but if I'm very present, my breathing, the physical, the mental, all present, then I feel something else. Rather than doing a really, great postures, my head under my knees here, but I'm not totally present, then this won't be yoga. It would be the gymnastic.
And you said something about religion that I think is very compelling. And if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about that. One of the things that I have been confronted with in the past, having conversations with different people who are very attached to their identity, is very attached to their religion. And they have this fear that doing yoga interferes or is incompatible in some way with their religion. And as a layman, it's very difficult for me to try to sort of explain that yoga is a philosophy rather than a religion. Have you encountered these situations in the past where students have expressed some perhaps valid concerns? And how have you dealt? What do you tell them?
Well, actually, myself, because being a Muslim, like, it's not like friendly with yoga. Like many people would say, oh, you're doing yoga. Myself, I had like apprehensions, or is it another religion? Would it be, And then when I went deeper in yoga, I found that there's nothing to do with religion. The traditional yoga. If you go to the sutras of Patanjali, who is the master, the father of yoga, you would say he won't mention about God and, but that awareness. And I would say, like as a sort of summary, it's true, yoga is inspired by the Indian thought. It comes from India, but it's not something Hindu, religious. What do I mean by Indian thought? Is like traditionally the Indians used to sit, on the floor, used to grind the wheat, planting. These have become yoga asanas with time and has been proved to have lots of health benefits, like the grinding.
That we don't do anymore
that
in
we
modern
don't do.
life.
We just
Yeah.
want to press and we want to pay and do. It was
Exactly.
not taught like something like it's being taught today. It was part of the culture. You sleep on the floor, you lie down. All these are part of yoga, to do with the elements. When you sit on the floor, for example, it's like harmonizing certain elements in you, going in the river. So nothing, for me, myself, like what yoga has brought me closer to my religion. Now I can relate that to my religion, for example. For example, the Muslim, they pray. I would say I don't see many religions that pray like with postures. So those benefits of the salat, the namaz that we do, the Muslim prayer, I found that benefits in yoga that I can relate to my religion. So in fact, when I went deeper, I've come to the conclusion that no, there's nothing to do with religion. Anybody can be a Christian or an atheist. They can practice yoga because it's not a belief. It's the experience of the self. It's not like, oh, you have to believe in that. You have to believe in certain deity. No, no, no. There is the sound, the Om sound that many people.
Yes, I was going to ask you about
the
that.
Om
Yes.
sound is like, Om, but Om is something Hindu or, well, the origin, if we break down the Om sound, you see it's A, U, Ma. When you were born, the baby, the first sound that he would utter is the A. Nothing to do with saying A in a religion, isn't it? And A is a vibration also. When you say A, it works on your belly.
Yeah.
It helps to remove the pain and all this. And you see the first sound that the baby would mumble would be mother, mama, mummy. So it's from the A to the M, just vibration, passing through the oo, oo. You see, during the evolution of the baby, at a point he would say oo, oo. So A, U, Ma. There's nothing to do with God or just different vibrations. And if you see also the great religions, you see like the Hindu would say the Aum, the Om, but in fact it's the Aum from the A to the M. Let's talk about Christianity, for example. Amen, from the A to the M again. The Muslim also, Amin. So it's different vibrations that works differently, different parts of your body. But it's not like, okay, I won't say Om or I would say Om. You don't have to. You can take what's good for you, what according to your level of, you think, of consciousness, but it can brought you just good.
Yes.
Breathing. This is the thing that you would do till the end of your life. So it's good if you breathe in correctly. Peace is something that we are all looking for.
Of course.
So
yeah.
you can be an atheist also.
And
But I would like to add also, but some people, those apprehensions also, sometimes some people or some teachers or some gurus might give yoga a religious connotation.
Right.
So this is them. But as I said, traditionally,
Has
anybody,
nothing to do with
it's
that.
something very neutral.
Yeah.
And I do it in a sort of very neutral way.
Absolutely. Yeah. And as you said,
Universal.
it's all these sounds that you spoke about. I think ultimately it comes down to intention.
Exactly.
If you're, as you said, the example you gave that you're a Muslim, so when you are saying the Om sound, you're not associating it with something that is incompatible to your religion.
Yeah,
if anything,
exactly.
it is bringing you closer to God.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And also, as you said, that intention, and this is why there is also that, you see, there's a way to start the yoga session. Why don't we just go and just do? No, it's like you start to intend. What do I intend for this session? I'm in a sort of mode, and a beta mode. This is where like the chemistry, the alchemy also would be more like pronounced. if I put myself in that mode, like then I become like, the upgrade will happen much faster, much easily. So that's why before we start, we just don't just start, we sit down, we take like a sort of meditative aspects, recenter yourself, finding that center, and what do I intend for this session? The power of intention, the power of thought. So then we proceed with
the poses.
Actually, you see in one session, like I said, the different stages, but we've adapted it. Now, for example, in one class, we try to do like
little bit
of everything. Also a little prise de conscience of some discipline, for example, personal or social, and up to like the meditative level.
Yeah. Which I think actually it's the hardest when you do the Shavasana at the end, the last 10 minutes, unless someone has fallen asleep, which sometimes people do. They probably need it, their body needs it. But it's kind of a sort of meditation, because even though it's not very long, it's very, very hard. I find it very hard to calm down the monkey mind. Is it just a question of practice?
Yeah, it's also a question of practice. Yeah, you know that definitely I agree with you. For some people, this can be the most painful part of the yoga, because this is where everything is, you know, coming out. The body is at rest. Now the great work is to still that chattering mind. So this is the whole peak of yoga, where I have to still the mind, donner du repos à ce mental. So in the beginning, you see, everything would
come up.
Yeah. Come up. It has to come up so that it can be transmuted to the light. So you have to persist with it, like you train yourself in the gym, for example, you know, to build muscle, not in one day, like that also. This is a training. You can like train, bring your focus back to your breath for a second, then for 2 seconds, then eventually for like, it would become better and better. This is the main thing, very difficult.
Very difficult.
And not only in the Shavasana, in fact, in every posture, in every asana, when you come in the asana, once you are you're very established in the posture, you have to connect within.
Yeah.
And this is also a most difficult part. And every time it's a different experience.
Yeah. And every time, it's funny, in certain poses in particular, you can tell when the mind wanders. So for example, I'll take the example of the tree pose. If you are not 100% focused, or you start looking at other people in the mirror or what have you, you won't remain stable. So even a pose like the Tadasana, if you're not grounding your feet very firmly onto the ground, you will waver. If you close your eyes, you will waver, actually.
Yeah, definitely. So these postures maybe have been devised so that you are forced to stay here, present. The moment, for example, the mind wanders, you'll...
Sure.
So this is just all part, because these are like balancing postures. You have to keep your eyes open, you have to be present, you have to be grounded.
Yeah.
And the moment that you see the mind wanders, you'll...
Yeah, totally. And what would you say to those people who feel that it's not although I personally do other sports as well, I think that if I were to do just yoga in itself, I think it's quite a complete practice, as you said, for the mind, body and the spirit. But let's focus on the body. Even for just the body, if you really wanted to, sometimes you start, sweating a little bit, you feel your heart racing a little bit, and, when you were doing core exercises. So I think it's quite a complete practice. Would you agree with that?
Yes, definitely. Many people think yoga, there's just the static pose. No, for example, the Surya Namaskar can become very, intense, very dynamic, and there are many variations of the Surya Namaskar. There are some exercises that can be quite, pushy and, really working yourself. And you see, there is the breathing part, the reaching peak part and slowing down part and finally relaxing part. So I would agree with you that it can be a complete exercise also in itself. Like you have the physical, the mental, but some people like to do other
Sure.
aspects also. And I would say to those people also, it's a good blend. It's a good
It
balance.
complements it.
It complements it. Like many people would say, no, I'm not yoga, I'm gym. No, I would say it's a good balance. If you have the two, you'll be like really, because after a yoga session, you are very energized. You can do other sports if you want. You can be very calm also, very fulfilled, and you don't want to do anything also. So it can be a good mariage.
Yes, yeah.
If those who doesn't want that mariage, they can have a date with yoga from time to time.
Yeah, just to see what it's like. But do you have a, let's say, for someone who wants to try yoga seriously, do you think there's an optimal number of days a week that they should practice it in order to reap the most benefits? Should it be an everyday practice?
I come back to the tradition. Traditionally, we say that there's 7 days in a week. It should be practiced 6 days, and 1 day is for rest and massage, which is also part of the yoga. Okay. So ideally, it's 7 days. Okay. 6 days, and the 7th one is for le jour du repos.
Yes, yes. Do you do it every day?
No, how would lie? So it's very different, like to teach and to actually practice the yoga. It's very, very different.
Yes, I can imagine. And do you, like you're doing Ramadan at the moment, are you finding it hard to continue teaching yoga during this time where, you know, you're fasting for half of the day?
Actually, like yoga is recommended to do on an empty stomach. The less you eat, you know, you'll find the asanas more like pronounced, you'll be more stable, the mind is sharper. This is experience, you know. I find during Ramadan, you know, like I've told that to many other Muslims, yogis that come, normally in Ramadan they stop. I said, no, just try once. They tried and most of them stayed, you know, because they find it, you know, more energetic during Ramadan.
Right.
Well, I do a bit like less intense also.
Sure.
But on the energy level, it's much better on an empty stomach. Even normally before yoga and just after yoga, you should allow 2-3 hours, you know, not to eat. And yogis, and food is very important. Even fasting, in all the religions, you see, they promote fasting. And in yoga also, there are lots of like cues, moderation, all those are like parts of the yogic. What to eat, when to eat, how much to eat. All these are very important. It's a whole way of life, I would say.
I agree. And there are, you know, sometimes when we do your classes, what we particularly at the office, we love about your classes is that you don't just do the poses, you kind of explain what benefits there are to your body. Some of the poses you would explain that it helps to get rid of certain toxins in our body, because I think we've, you know, as you said, yogic thought is very ancient, and it's grounded in ancient science before modern medicine came along. And obviously there are tremendous benefits to modern medicine, but I don't think we should lose touch with these ancient wisdom that I feel to a large extent we've lost now, because we just think, oh, I'll just pop a pill and that. But I think a lot of the asanas that you do help us, you know, even like something simple like tapping, face tapping or body tapping, that you kind of stimulate the, I don't know the technical terms, but you kind of stimulate the blood cells and the skin.
Energy.
Exactly, yeah. And do you find generally in all your decades of experience in yoga that your student, that it's awakened curiosity in your students to delve deeper into it rather than just attending a class and doing the poses?
No, there's some people have this, you know, like this quest to go deeper, and many have become like teachers also.
Amazing, amazing.
I would say many, even if in our classes you would see like many other students that
Yes.
they teach elsewhere, and they were most of them had like problems also, you know, like health problems, and with time they've learned, you know, there's also discipline, but there was this quest a bit more
Right.
than. But most people they come for some relief,
Yeah.
to have a good time, to work on the physical, to have some rest, to recharge. The majority of the people would be that. But there is a few that wants to go like further in yoga, in the philosophy, in the wisdom. And
Thank you so much. Last question for you, Moshin. Obviously, I know where to find you, but for those who have watched and who'd be interested to try one of your classes, where can they find you?
well, I'm a bit nomad, as I said, so I
Bit
move
of everywhere.
a bit everywhere. I'm at Synergy Wellness in the gym at Helvetia. I'm also at Suffren Ice Spa, NAC Park. I work also in an old people home at Palma.
Okay.
I work also with the battered children.
Oh,
I work
wow.
at Les Mariannes Clinic Wellness Sanctuary
Yes.
with the addicts.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And
Okay, so they can find you in one of these places. Thank you so much for your time and your candor. Thank you for your honesty. And I hope this conversation has sparked some curiosity in people to find out more about yoga. I personally think I wish I did more of it. I don't think I do enough of it. I think it's a wonderful way of life. I'll call it a way of life. So thank you.
thank you, Joanna.